Now, in continuation of my cut content and episode breakdown series, we only have one more episode to go before the end of Season 3, and it's finally time for the long-awaited introduction and opening of Ramiris Labyrinth in the recent episode 23, which is aptly titled The Labyrinth's Grand Opening. And it pretty much covers the remaining events that were found in Chapter 4 of the Volume 9 light novel. However, there were a few moments from the light novel that were removed from episode 23, such as a beginning conversation that happened between Rimuru, Veldora and Ramiris about the labyrinth, along with some additional sequences involving one of the teams that were challenging the labyrinth, which was actually essential in the light novel to help showcase the labyrinth mechanics. Also, there are a few minor cut contents not adapted into the episode as well, so I'll be discussing about those and breaking down the episode in today's video. As usual, a spoiler warning if you haven't watched the episode yet or might find the information I mentioned in the video to be spoilers. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and share with your friends. With that said, episode 23 continues directly after Rimuru ended his meeting with Masayuki in the previous episode, but just before the grand opening of Ramiris' Labyrinth, Rimuru actually went down to the labyrinth first to make sure all the safety features were in place and the preparation was completed, which wasn't adapted into the anime. It was also during this conversation that Rimuru explains to Veldora and Ramiris how he plans on closing down the labyrinth after the opening to perform another round of balancing based on the data they'll be collecting from the challengers, along with finalizing some other aspects as well, like training workers, more marketing and pricing for the labyrinth. I honestly would have liked to see this interaction being adapted into the anime since it shows more of the management and technical side of running what's essentially equivalent to a carnival attraction. In addition to that, there was a funny sequence where Ramiris informed Rimuru that Milin brought Gupta and Ranga down into the dragon floors because she apparently wanted to give the Archdragon she caught some exercise, or using it as training for Gupta and Ranga at the same time. So once Rimuru was done with the final preparations, he returned to the VIP area with Ramiris, and Veldora apparently chose to stay behind because he actually thought someone would reach his floor, not knowing that the showcase for the labyrinth only had a 3-hour time limit. In any case, this is where the episode actually starts with Mouse and Sokka taking turns introducing the labyrinth and hyping up the audience, while Ramiris proceeds to summon the gate leading into a labyrinth. And I have to say, the chemistry between Mouse and Sokka was really well done, and even though Mouse was described to be less natural and nervous in the light novel, the anime version of him seems to be much more confident and professional when it comes to MCing. That said, when Sokka proceeds to introduce the challengers, the first team was led by Basso, and I love how he is clearly supposed to be a reference to Kratos from the God of War series. However, the most notable thing to mention that wasn't included into the episode was how he along with his party were calling bullshit on the Martial Tournament result and commenting on how the labyrinth was simply a scam, which actually angered Diablo and Shion in the light novel, but Rimuru was able to pacify their anger. Then Sokka would introduce Aaron's party, and there was actually a brief line from the light novel which was removed from the episode involving Rimuru stating how Aaron's party has apparently been helping Yom rebuild his country. That's why he was surprised to see them participating because he assumed they were still in the Famana's kingdom. And the running gag of having Duke Atlau being the biggest Dr. Sim ever and then being scolded by Emperor Amasia was such a funny detail. Next, it was Masayuki's Team Lightspeed, and not much can be said about their intro, but the anime seems to have completely removed the minor light novel detail of Rimuru gifting Jinra a high-grade armor for helping to advertise the Martial Tournament previously, and another one where Rimuru gifted Masayuki a rapier because the reason he never unsheathed his weapon before during combat is due to his sword being too heavy. And the final challenger was Guy, the biggest idiot of Season 3, but his interview sequence would be the same as the light novel, although there was a funny interaction not shown in the episode, where Shion tried to imitate Rimuru's voice and gave Diablo permission to kill Guy, but they were quickly scolded by Rimuru. Now, once they finish introducing the challengers, just like you see in the episode, Sokka proceeds to explain the livestream element of the Labyrinth showcase and introduce 4 new Dryas as well who are actually given names in the light novel: Alpha, Beta, Gamma and Delta. I wonder if this counts as a reference to the Eminence in Shadow. Also, it was explained by Rimuru that the only way to distinguish them was through the wavelength of their mana, since the 4 of them look the same. And for the explanation on the items such as the Resurrection Bracelet, the following sequences in the light novel will happen in a similar fashion with the light novel, although it's worth pointing out that when Guy started attacking Mouse to test the item, he was supposed to be more violent in the light novel as he dismembered Mouse. Regardless, Mouse was soon transported outside the labyrinth with his body intact, and having him mention the pain-resistant element of the Resurrection Bracelet is a nice foreshadowing for later in the episode. Nonetheless, the labyrinth showcase will soon begin, and the initial focus was on Bason's team, with much of the interaction involving them playing out the same way as the light novel. Even the part where Rimuru confronts Ramiris about adding 4 traps into the first floor, although the anime version was definitely funnier thanks to Ramiris' voice actress. Adding to that, later when Rimuru was checking on Aaron's party, he soon realized that Ramiris has been bribed by them, and this following sequence had gone accordingly with the light novel as well. With Aaron's party being shown in the anime to have discovered a treasure chest, Mouse proceeds to talk about the three specific types that are found inside the labyrinth, which are bronze, silver, and gold. And only the explanation for the bronze and gold treasure chests have followed the light novel, while the episode doesn't mention the contents found inside the silver chest. For instance, it was said to be mostly filled with healing potions or silver coins, but there was a chance for rare grade equipment to be found as well. The rest of the explanation given by Mouse on the labyrinth, such as the floor bosses, was also similar to what was described inside the light novel, and the anime did well to make such a heavy exposition sequence entertaining to watch, and having the visual guide of Gozer doing various bodybuilding poses definitely helped in this regard. So moving on from that, the anime switches over to Masaoki's team, and much of their progress will follow the light novel. Although I did like the small detail in the episode of Jinrai catching Jiwoo as they fell through the floor trap. It's honestly small attention to detail like this that makes the Tensura anime so good. Either way, going over to Guy, he was basically doing a speed run of the labyrinth as he simply zooms through everything, even the floor traps. And in the light novel, Rimuru stated how Delta was struggling to keep up with him because she had to use the conventional method of flying, since using teleportation would disrupt the live video feed she was supposed to relay. Also, when Rimuru asked Wisdom King Raphael how Guy was able to seemingly locate all the silver treasure chests, she wasn't able to answer, but the comments made by Ramiris on how he was being fueled by greed is actually a subtle foreshadowing for a future plot point. However, to avoid directly spoiling you, I'll simply let you know that Guy was actually being influenced by someone, and it was due to that person's ability to amplify his greed, which allowed him to easily pinpoint the treasure chest. Having said that, before switching perspective to Bason's party, I really enjoyed the sequence of Veldora just practicing his final boss presentation for the people that will ultimately visit his floor, still not realizing that no one can even make it down that far within 3 hours. And at the end of the episode, when Rimuru was giving his closing statement for the festival, Veldora actually contacted him in the light novel to complain about the lack of challengers, and he ends up being scolded by Rimuru for never paying attention to what he says, which would have been funny to see play out in the anime if it was adapted. Now then, back to Bason's party, the anime actually removed quite a lot from my perspective, and even changes the importance of their role to mere comic relief because in the light novel, they not only had quite a significant role to help promote the labyrinth simply through the way they approach the entire thing, but also making Rimuru realize some of the flaws and issues with the labyrinth itself, which I'll be talking about next. Essentially, in the light novel, Bason's party was super unlucky throughout their run as they constantly triggered the various traps prepared by Rimuru, and even when they managed to find some treasure chests, they still ended up getting either a mimic chest or a booby trap one. And this causes Rimuru to reconsider the trap to reward ratio inside the labyrinth, because if the audience sees that Bason's party was struggling so much to even find a single chest, it might cause them to be less inclined to participate in the future since the disadvantages seems to outweigh the profit. However, they did eventually discover a hidden room with a silver chest, but they still had to defeat the Great Bear, a rank C monster, and Rimuru commented how they were fighting in a very logical and conservative manner despite being a rank B party. And it was because of that fight that gave Rimuru another idea for the labyrinth, to prepare courses that teaches newbies how to fight more efficiently and utilize tactics that are more suited for the labyrinth environment, since they still don't seem to comprehend the not dying portion of it. Furthermore, Rimuru had to re-evaluate the difficulty of the labyrinth as well, because it was stated in the light novel that Bason's party took around 5 minutes just to take down the Great Bear, and if it averages the strength of other adventuring teams that eventually visit the labyrinth, it might take them months to even make it past the 10th floor, which will become problematic for the longevity and interest for the labyrinth. That's why I don't understand why the anime decided to omit such a major part of the labyrinth showcase from the light novel and made Bason's party just comic relief, because they actually did influence a lot of the future policies that Rimuru ultimately implemented into the labyrinth. And not only that, after Bason opened the silver chest, he was able to acquire a rare grade equipment, which was then explained by Rimuru in the light novel to be quite a significant price, because most adventurers in the Tensura world were often badly equipped and couldn't afford proper equipment. So the implications of how much impact the labyrinth will have on the future economy of adventurers and the world building element of it were really lacking in the anime, which was so disappointing. In addition to that, from a writing standpoint as well, Bason and his party even changed their initial skeptical attitude towards Rimuru and the labyrinth, as they were now praising how fun it was, which manages to excite the audience. Many were even paying the most attention to the progress as compared to the 3 other teams. But I digress. Removing much of the experience that Bason's party had also meant that the part where Ramiris informed Rimuru about Veldora increasing the drop rates of the treasure chest for the opening will be omitted from the episode as well. And Veldora mainly did this because he wanted to advertise to the audience the profits that can be earned from exploring the labyrinth, and Rimuru even internally praised him for this initiative, so it's unfortunate this wasn't adapted into the anime since it's one of the rare cases where Veldora actually did something right. Also, even though it was mentioned as a passing statement in the episode, the light novel did showcase how Bason's party was able to gather magic crystals as well from the monsters they defeated. Anyways, shifting the focus to Aaron's party, much like what was shown in the episode, they started using the floor traps to quickly reach the deeper floors, and they eventually made it to the 5th floor, because their target was the area boss, which was again information Aaron acquired from Ramiris. But not much can be said about this entire sequence since it was pretty faithful to the source material with barely any changes made, although Rimuru did point out in the light novel how Aaron was intentionally acting injured just so she can use the opportunity to help promote the healing potions of Tempest. Also, it seems that the anime decided to change the grade of the Tempest sword acquired by them, because in the light novel it was said to only be at the special grade, but in the episode, Rimuru stated that it was a unique grade which is considered to be the 3rd strongest grade of weapons. Regardless, after Aaron's party collected their prize, they will use the return wizard to exit the labyrinth, so switching to Masauki's team light speed, they managed to reach floor 10 with just 15 minutes left to the event, and in the light novel, Rimuru actually acknowledges that they were likely relying on the luck boost of Masauki because the trap floors somehow always lead them down the easiest path, even letting them land directly outside the room of the floor boss, which was a rank B Great Spider. And similar to what happened in the episode, Jinra easily took the Great Spider down with a single hit, and it was again likely thanks to the effects of Chosen One that increased the strength of Jinrai. So they soon left the labyrinth as well after Masauki collected the rare great weapon from the chest, and seeing the way they abused the floor traps, Rimuru decided to completely remove this feature in the future. Now Guy was the next focus of the audience, but because he was a few minutes behind Team Lightspeed, when he arrived at the floor boss area, the Great Spider still hasn't respawned, and the explanation given by Miyomas on this situation will occur in a similar fashion to the light novel. However, Guy became angered by this, so he tried forcing Delta to revive the floor boss, and the reason he was punished was actually a bit different, so to explain. In the episode, Delta punished him since he tried attacking her, whereas in the light novel, he was punished because he was insulting both Rimuru and Ramiris. And honestly, I did not expect a Dryad to be this brutal, but it was satisfying seeing her deactivate the pain resistance function of the resurrection bracelet to deal the most amount of pain to Guy, and the animation sequence of him being decapitated by Delta was clean. And using this chance, Miyomas explains to the audience the consequences of breaking the rules inside the labyrinth, with much of the information stated in the source material being retained in the episode. However, in the light novel, this sudden event had caused the atmosphere to turn a bit awkward, although Sokka was able to repair the mood and the audience regained their composure once they saw Guy recover from the shock. So with that, the final team left inside the labyrinth was Bason's party, and their final moment was again completely altered in the episode. To explain, they were supposed to have encountered a group of skeleton archers, and it was quite dramatic in the light novel, because Bason's party was described to be fully immersed in the experience that they forgot about the resurrection bracelet, so when one of his party members was killed, Bason was enraged and saddened by it, and it turned the entire sequence into an intense battle filled with emotions, which hyped up the audience even more, but the epic moment was stopped by Alpha, who simply teleported the remaining members outside since the time limit for the Labyrinth showcase has officially ended. And the importance of this in the light novel was to actually showcase the feeling of the resurrection bracelet when it's being used properly, because the member that died will share his experience with the audience, so I really don't understand why the anime decided to remove the subplot involving Bason's party. In any case, the grand opening of Ramiris Labyrinth will officially end, and after Rimuru gave his final address for the Founders Festival, the episode proceeds to showcase a montage of the last moments during the festival, and the most surprising part was seeing Benimaru actually interacting with Hiro, which was also followed by Rimuru enjoying some drinks with Queen Towa as well, meaning they're both now canon in the anime universe. Also, the face made by Veldora here was goddamn hilarious. That said, Rimuru's final message about his dreams for the future will be word for word taken from the light novel, and so, the episode ends with only the issue involving the merchants remaining for Rimuru to resolve. But in all honesty, even though I enjoyed some of the moments from this episode, it was still such a disappointment because the opening of the Labyrinth was supposed to be the shining moment for Tempest, and choosing to omit the subplot involving Bason's party really hurts the overall world-building aspect of the series. But aside from that, everything else was amazing, so I have very mixed feelings about this episode, and hopefully the final one will at least close out the season properly.
最終警告、謝罪する気はありませんか？
なめるな！この程度の魔法！
But yeah, that was my cut content breakdown for episode 23. So what are some of your favorite moments from this episode and what are your thoughts on the removed content involving Bason's party? Feel free to share your thoughts down below and be sure to check out my other cut content videos as well. Also, if you enjoyed this cut content video, remember to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button for more cut content videos as well. Thanks for watching and as always, stay safe everyone.